Hello everyone, and it's Michael, and today we're going to talk about tips and tricks to setting up your library guides. There's a few caveats that I want to just bring up front before we go into this, and that is please be aware that software companies and vendors will peddle all kinds of stuff to librarians and library staff and educational institutions under the guise of, if you buy our product, then people are going to come flocking to your library in the hundreds and the thousands, and their parents are going to come. Nothing can be further from the truth. The reality with libraries is, and as library managers, you should know that what brings people into the library is not a pretty web page. It is actually the content that you have and make available. Whether the content is physical resources, digital resources, the more resources you have, the more likely your library is going to be used by the patrons that you service, whether it's teachers, students, or parents. So please don't fall for the trick that if you have a pretty looking page and you pay a software vendor a bucket load of money, then your library is going to be active. Okay? And bear in mind, every dollar that you spend on anything other than resources for your library, you're just diminishing the value of your library. It literally is as simple as that. Okay, so as you know that there are products called LibGuides, and there are library vendors that say, if you have an attractive homepage, it'll attract thousands of people to your library. I want to just start off with a history lesson. A history lesson on the demise of the world famous search engine. It was the only search engine that was about, and that particular search engine was called Yahoo. I don't believe there was anyone on the planet that did not use the Yahoo search engine. So let's start with the Yahoo search engine. If you have a look, there are all the pages of Yahoo. You can go and click on any one of these pages and you can see all the different information. Now, what's familiar to you with all these different Yahoo search engines and variants of all of them? And they change basically every week, every month. Some of them change once a year. But this was what the Yahoo search engine was about. It filled up the screen. Every one of them had a search bar. Everyone, there's a search bar. You could do a search. Okay, that one had a search bar. There isn't a page that did not have a search bar on it. Doesn't matter which one you looked at, they all had. But they had all these other things. Does it look familiar like a library guide? You bet it does. And based on your organization, you could then put the information that you wanted them to just click here, and it brought all that information up. Okay, and this was touted as being the best search engine in the world. And of course, 99% of the population never ever used all these buttons and all these options. That is a fact. Okay, so if you have a library guide and you're going to populate it, or you have a web page, or you have a library vendor touting and promoting, or you can do this with your search engine, with your library system. You can put all these buttons and icons and whatever onto your front page, and thousands of people will just migrate to your library. Well, let me just give you a little bit of a history lesson here and show you what happened with Yahoo. A new search engine came up. It came out of absolutely nowhere, and this was it. And almost overnight, Yahoo ceased to exist. And the reason was people took offense at being marketed and sold all these other auxiliary things when all they wanted to do was just go to a search engine and put in cat and get everything for what they were searching for. Okay? Or put in Hitler, or put in World War II. Okay, and then get all the information that they wanted without getting all the advertised junk that some individual somewhere along the line decided that you as a patron of your system need to have access to what I have defined here. Okay, so I am going to caution you before we start, be careful about this push that started about 8 years ago with LibGuides, library guides, and so forth and so on. All you're going to do, I can assure you, is you're going to go from a Yahoo kind of a search and become obsolete, and obsolete to your individual users. Okay, so please be careful as we go down the path of discovering library guides, and to realize that people are really not interested in getting a whole bunch of auxiliary information that won't address 99% of your users' problems. Now, library guides. Okay, so here's Monash University as an example. It's still a lot of information, even though there's just 4 buttons. 1 button here, 2, 3, 4. And of course, you can scroll down and there's even more information here. Now you can do a library page that is like that. But if I'm studying history, I want to be able to do a search of history. So where do I search? Oh, I got to look and find where's the search button. And then I go, oh, I'll click here. But when I search here, I'm actually searching the library page. But if I go search here, that's when I'll go into, so search the university, and I type in history. Okay. And then you have to go to 3 levels of searching to be able to get to where you want to. And library patrons are really not interested in going a second button, a third button, a fourth button to try and dig down. So please be very, very, very careful that you don't fall into what I call the Yahoo trap of putting so much information on your front page that people just get turned off and don't even bother going there, especially when we've become Googleized. Okay, when people are used to going to a blank page, putting in what they want and getting the information they want. All right, so let's have a look at Smart Suite. And this is the Smart Suite homepage for probably 90% of the people that use our software. And basically, 2 issues with this page. It gives you a result sheet whether you search or not. It's not giving you just a whole bunch of random information, 99% of which I'm not interested in. It is giving you a page, and whatever is up here is the last item that was added, the most current, in other words. That's the second most current, the third most current. So as you add to the collection, whether it's videos, whether it's books, whether it's magazines, whether it's equipment, it'll appear here in the order of that's the most current, the second most current, and so forth. And if you scroll down here, it'll give you the next page of the most current, and the next page, and the next. So eventually, if you keep scrolling long enough, you will get to the very first record that was ever added onto the library system. Okay, so what Smart Suite does for you is it makes sure that the information provided to you is always what's relevant and what's current up here. But just like Google, you can come here and you can search for cat, and it will bring up the results for you. So our first priority is to say to your library patrons, Hello everyone, this is what's new. And if you want to search, just put in whatever search you want and we will bring up all the information. Okay, but you say yes, but everybody else has library guides and I want library guides, or this other vendor says if I have a fancy front page, everybody else is going to come to the library and we're not going to be able to contain the crowds that are going to come in there. Don't believe a word of it. However, should you believe it, you have the option for a home page. And that home page, that's our library guides kind of home page if you want. Or why not just go to your school's home page? So let's go and have a look at St. John High School. Let's go and randomly get anyone's web page. Okay, so let's go to the school's web page. I don't know who they are. All right. So there's a web page. Now, what you can do, instead of having a button up here that says library, and then they go to your OPAC, why not get your IT department to put a button that says resources or library resources or whatever, and when you hover, you decide all the different areas of resources that you want down here and down here and down here. So you can have any kind of button. So that might be year 12 resources, that might be senior fiction, that might be videos, that might be lessons, and so forth and so on. So what I'm going to teach you to do is you can build, inverted commas, a library guides page by getting your IT department to say, give me a button on my school's homepage, and on my school's homepage I want 3 rows, or maybe 2 rows, or maybe 5 rows, and under each row I'll tell you all the buttons I want, and I will give you a link to put behind those individual buttons, and when they press that, it will run that link. Now, you do not have to have words. You might say, I'm going to give you in this column, that's my junior school, so I'm going to give you pictures. So you can give them the individual pictures. So it might be a picture of a zoo, it might be a picture of a sports oval, it might be a picture of a experiment in a science lab. So that's for your your science teacher. That might be a picture of history, a world war or something. And so when they click on each one of these, it runs a search that will bring up a resource relevant to whatever word or whatever picture that you have here, if you want to do that. Okay, and then you can also put that search button, you can have it up here, or you can say, oh, and by the way, I want you to put a bar across there that just says search, so that when they click in that search and they click and type in World War, that's going to come up. Or they click and type in fiction or non-fiction, that's what's going to come up. So in other words, I'm not saying that these are static lists that are going to come up when they click that. Every one of those clicks is actually going to bring up the most current, going down to the oldest, the results based on whatever you've defined as being in here. So it could be stuff like senior fiction, junior fiction, equipment, and so forth and so on, or year 12 videos, English videos, and so forth and so on. Okay, so when you're talking about library guides, that's what we're talking about, where you can get IT to create a button, and then when they hover over the button, you tell them how many columns you want. You tell them either the names of the words in those columns, and you're going to give them a link. I'm going to show you how to give them a link. Or you're going to put pictures, and you say, and I will give you a link for each one of those pictures, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Alternatively, you might say, no, I'm not going to rely on IT to do all this work for me, because I'm pretty savvy and I know how to use an HTML editor. So I'm going to do my own little pretty picture page, and I will again get the link for the resources that are backed up for that particular word or phrase or picture. Okay, so in here in Smart Suite, we give you the option to do that as well. Okay, now in this case, I've got welcome to the library. So there's nothing stopping you from on this page here. When they go down here, it says the welcome message. So when they click on that, okay, you can say to them is, this is the message that I want to show up here. And there's your welcome message. Okay, or you can just say, no, this is the vision, or that's the fiction or non-fiction. When they click on that, it'll bring up a resource list based on that. Okay, so in simple terms, that's what library guides are. You do not want to go down the path of a Yahoo and fill it up with so much stuff that it's just irrelevant. Okay, however, let's have a look at what you can do here. So we've got a page here, and on this page, which only 10% of people use, you can go in there and you can create this page. And see how I've just got one piece of information here, then I've got a list of buttons here, and I've got a list of buttons here. So there's only 2 columns. Now, you might say, oh, well, why don't I have 3 columns? And I'll have junior school, middle school, and senior school, and then I'll have these buttons. And what it means is that when I put these buttons in here, whatever the buttons are, when they click it, it's just going to go and execute a search and bring up all the resources for that particular item. Okay, and that's what that's done. So if I go ahead and I click on say non-fiction, it's going to bring up all my non-fiction resources, which means that if you defined your home page and put buttons on there, then it'll just run that. And as I said, you can have 3 columns, you can have 4 columns. And what about this side of it? Okay, these are all the video side of it. So you can, documentaries, click on that. Okay, and there's all the documentaries on the system. And you can pay. Now, the advantage of doing it this way is you're not looking at a static page that says, here are, when you click this button up here, okay, so let's just go back to my home page. What you're doing is you're not saying that when I click this button here, it's going to give me all the resources of films as at a particular point in time. Same as when your students go and click on non-fiction, or they click on fiction, or they click on adventure, or they click on junior fiction, or they click on equipment. So whatever buttons you choose, when they click on that button, what you want to see happening is that this page will always show the most current up the top, going down to the oldest. So if they page down, that's the next page and the next page and the next page and the next page. Okay, but if I went and I created that button 6 months ago, I don't want to see this page as it was 6 months ago. I want to see this page as of right now in this instant, which means that if I went and cataloged a brand new book, and that brand new book cost me $2 or $200, I don't care. It needs to appear in this position and everything shuffles down 1. If I've cataloged 15 new books and they're all under the banner of fiction, I want them to appear the first 15 here and everything shuffles down 15. So in other words, whenever anyone clicks on any of these buttons, it's dynamic. It's going to give them the latest, the most current view of what's on the system, and you don't want to be going into the system and constantly manually changing the results that come when you click on a particular word. Okay, what you want to be able to do is when they click on whatever it is that they click on, it needs to bring up everything that's current for that particular term, which means that you only do your library guides, homepage, whatever you want to call it. You just do it once and you create those buttons and you create the links behind those buttons, and that's it. You never have to touch it again unless you want to redefine the search of that button, or you want to define the range of that button, or you want to define that it's not just non-fiction, but it's non-fiction that is available, not non-fiction carte blanche, which means show me the non-fiction stuff that is everything, including on loan, including on reserve. No, no, no. When I click non-fiction, I only want to see what's non-fiction available for me to borrow at this instant in time. Okay, so it's very easy to do. Now, before I go and show you how to alter this page, as I said, you need to have what we call is HTML editing capabilities as an individual. So if you don't know how to do HTML editing, then it's going to be a bit of hard work. Or alternatively, you can do what probably 60% of our users do. They just go to the IT and say, I want a button on my home page that says library. And when I click on library, I want 3 columns of information or 4 columns of information. I want a picture here, and I'll tell you a link that you're going to put behind every one of these buttons that will produce a certain kind of an outcome. Okay? And so I'm going to show you how to create the links for the outcome. Then I'm going to show you how to then create, and I'm going to work on the assumption that you have some HTML training. And if not, you might want to go and get HTML training. And my attitude is, why do you want to do it? But if you want to do it because everybody else is saying LibGuides, so all I'm saying is don't spend your money buying LibGuides. Don't spend your money going with a library system because they're telling you the Yahoo lie, you know, that people want to see all this Yahoo kind of information on there. What students want to see is, even if you put buttons on here, they want to see a search bar. And they want to be able to type in, okay, they want to type in something, and then they want to be able to get some assistance on spelling or the area that it's in. And if they just hit that and do a search, they want it to go ahead and then bring up all the material on that area. Okay, so I'm Gravity, that's a title, and I know no Gravity as a smart search. Go ahead, okay, and all of that came from that home page. So we give them a start. That's what the home page, that's what a library guides is. You are focusing them to say, hi everyone, my collection is divided into these 12 main areas, or these 6 main areas, or these, dare I say, 25 main areas, like a Yahoo thing. And then it gets so complicated, and then you have to, no matter which way you go, if you happen to go down that page, unlike our competitors, the thing is, you do it once, and the data, that results that come up behind all those clicks is automatically updated at the instant of clicking it. Okay, so now let me show you how to get to fiction. How do I get a link that when I click on it and put it behind a button called fiction, that it will always do a fiction search? Okay, how do I do that? Really easy. Okay, so let's go to my school collection, and this is your starting point because this is your OPAC. Okay, and let's get rid of this. Okay, and let's go and do a normal search, which is, that's the most current. So here we go. I want to go and create a button called fiction. How do I do that? So what you can do is, in here, you can type in fiction. And there's your fiction search. Okay, so this has everything with fiction in it, and you go, wow, I would like a button so that when I give this link to my IT department and say, put a word called fiction on my library page, and here's the URL for that link. Or how about this? How about I type in World War? Okay, so put a button on my library page and called World War Resources, and when they click on it, that's what's going to come up. Or what about movies? So put a button on my library page called interesting movies, and I'll give you a link that goes behind this. Okay, or how about I click on put a page on my library, a button on my library page called Dahl or Roald Dahl. And when they click on it, it brings up all my Dahl resources. So it doesn't matter what you're looking for. When you do a search, you can create a dynamic link, and that's the operative word. It's dynamic. And what that means is that once you create that link, you never ever have to go back and change it. And as books are added to the resource, whether it's a SKISS catalog, a manual catalog, or you tag different things by adding more subjects or locations or sub-locations or notes to it, and it has that word in it, it will automatically come up when people click that button that gives you that. So let's go and start with my favorite search, and that is search of cat. And you want to say these are all the cat resources. Okay, so what you want to do, if you want to create a link for any kind of search, you need to define the search first to make sure that is exactly what you want. So that's number two. You need to do the search to make sure you've got some resources to make sure that the search is going to work. Then you need to go to the advanced search button. When you click the advanced search button, this is a very, very powerful area here. Okay, and it says order by title, so you can choose the order that you want the results to come out, okay, on the system. And you can say, all right, if I put in the word cat, how do you want the search to work? So it says keyword cat. So if I go and do a search, that's going to bring up all the books that have cat anyway. And you go, no, 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 I want cat in the subject. Okay, and then do a search. And there's your cat in the subject area. And then you can say, and I want media type equal to whatever. And you can go, I want the class grade equal to whatever. I can go call number range between this particular call number range if you're doing a particular call number range, fiction, whatever. So you put in whatever you like. And before you do anything, hit the search button to make sure that it translates into that. There it is. Now, it'd be nice if I had a URL, so every time someone clicked on that button, you're going to give your IT department, or you're going to take that URL and put it behind a button you create somewhere that's going to do a subject search of cat. Okay? So, we have this wonderful button here called external link. And when you click that, it will create a link or a URL for this kind of search. Now, let me show you something. So once you do that, you can then say to the IT, I'm going to give you a link. So if you, let me open up Word to show you what that link looks like. Okay. It's generally a very long, convoluted link, and you don't need to concern yourself with that particular link. Okay, so let me just extend that out there, and let me go to the layout, and let me do it in landscape so you can see it, and I'll go paste that link in there. Now there's that dirty great big link. You don't need to understand what that link is. You don't even need to try and figure out what that link is. All you need to know is that if I put this link behind a button on my school's library webpage or on the home page of the library system, because I've got an HTML editor and I can say this is a button or this is a picture, when someone clicks on it, run this particular URL, this is what's going to happen. So I've got a new tab here and I'm going to paste it in there. Okay, and what happens is when someone hits the enter key, what it's going to do is it's going to execute this URL. Okay, so here we go, and I'll go enter up here. Okay, go enter, and guess what happens? It'll automatically open the library system, automatically bring up the URL, automatically do the search. You can also make sure that this doesn't come up, but there it is. Okay, now remember this book, it's called Forest. And let me show you something about Forest. Let me just go edit, and I'm going to delete the book called Forest. Remember that black cat up there? Delete the title, and I'll go, yes, I want to delete it. Okay, and go confirm. Okay, so now that book has been deleted out of the system. Okay, remember that black cat? It's deleted out of the system. Now, let's go back and open up that blank URL. Let's put the same URL in there, exactly the same. So now that book might have been deleted because it's no longer applicable, or you had 2 copies of it. They look like a dog's dinner, so you got rid of it. But you have a button that describes that search result. So let me just put that search result in there. So the next minute when someone hits that same button, remember the black cat? It was the very first one. Guess what? It's gone. Okay. Now have a look at Dog Wars. Okay. Now let me just go into this particular book called Dog Wars, and if you can have a look, you got 2 of 2 copies. I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to add 2 copies to this book. So I'll go to, it's got 2 copies, so I'll go to copy, and there's copy 1, that's copy 2. Okay, so I'll now want to go and I'll go duplicate the copy. Okay, and this is my 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Okay, so that's my copy. Okay, and I'll go save. So I've now got 3 copies of it. All right, let's get out of here. It's called Dog Wars. Okay, now let me go and bring up a new page, and let's say I'm pressing this exact same URL. There it is, same URL, and now I hit enter. What's going to happen is, even though that URL was created about half an hour ago, Dog Wars 3 of 3. So every time someone clicks a button that you have defined here, because you've done an advanced search and you've put in all the parameters for the advanced search, you've clicked on the external link, you've put it behind a button somewhere, what's going to happen is, if I go and click fiction, okay, this is going to give me an image of your collection based on fiction as at the instant of when I actually click the button. And that is dynamic. Okay, and it's very easy to do. The easiest way for you to do it is go to your IT department, if you've got an IT department that has a web page, and say, now I know I've got home, our college, our faith, our learning, our well-being, and so forth and so on. I want a new button here called library. When they click on that new button called library, I want it to have 3 columns of information or 4 columns of information. And I want to have the library times, when we're open, or meet a librarian, and I want to do all of those things. And I will give you a link for each one of these because they are dynamic. This image here is going to be a static because that's just going to tell you when the times the library is open and who the librarians are. That's okay. Okay, so you can do that. Or you can say, no, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to learn to do HTML editing, and I'm going to go and change this, or I'm going to use this, or I'm going to ask Functional Solutions to give me 2 buttons on this page. Welcome to the library, and I'll give them the text, or you can put the text in yourself. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then on this side, I'm going to give another widget. That's called a widget. That is a widget. That's another widget. On this side, I'm going to have another widget that just says meet your librarians, or ask a question of your librarians. And then I'm going to allow them to ask a question that gets emailed to the library staff. Now, if you want to change this page, this is where you're going to get into, as I said, you need to know HTML editing, but I'll just show you what we mean. You click on this button, and you will have a page settings there if you are an administrator. Okay, and when you go on to the page settings, there's your 3 widgets. Okay, so that's your welcome, that's your books by genre, and that's TV for education, introduction, and subjects. And those are the names of the little widgets. Okay, and you can go, oh, okay, well, I want to change this widget. Now you can delete this widget. You can add one widget just called senior fiction. At the moment, this widget has 3 columns in there, or 2 columns, I think, in there. okay, or one column going all the way down the page. This one has another column going all the way down the page. Now you don't have to have three widgets. You can have one widget that has 3 columns, or you can have one widget for down this column, a middle widget, and a third widget. So it's up to you. But just to show you how that works, if you click on these buttons, that allows you to change. So let's have a look, books by genre, okay, or TV for education, either one. So if you go, once you're in there, if you click on that button, it'll say books by genre. Let's have a look at the pinup editor, because those are little pinups that you can have, and you can have as many of them. So if I go to the pinup editor, you're now getting into the real nitty-gritty of this. Okay, so books by genre, there it is. There's all my other widgets on there. I've got tens and huge widgets. Okay, but we're going to deal with books by genre, just to give you an example of what it is if you want to go into the editor and start editing it. So if I go edit that, okay, and then what will come up on the system is there is the pinup editor. So I've taken that and I say I want to edit that. So if I click that pencil, and there it is in the HTML editor. So if you know how to use HTML, it's in here. Okay, and you can go in here and now you can change the name of that. You can put a different URL, but you need to know HTML to be able to start working in this area. So you're getting a little bit technical in the programming area, but I'm just showing you that you can create one editor which just has these. You can have 3 columns in here, and you can put anything behind these buttons. You can even go and change the wording. You can even put a photograph. You can have, like I had a user the other day that says, oh, so what we've done is we've gone and we've put our books according to color. So anything in this collection is this color, anything in that collection that color. So why can't we change the color on there to match it? Of course you can, but as I said, you need to know about HTML editing to be able to do that. Okay, so and you can do any, you will not damage the system. Okay, and every school and every individual library staff member have their own individual particular requirements. So you can go ahead and play around there and do that. Or alternatively, you can take the easy way out and go to your IT and just say, give me a page. I'll tell you the words of the buttons that I want, and I will give you a link for each one of these. And that's how it will work. Okay, and you just get and say, I'll give you a URL for every one of those, and then you never have to worry about it. But if you put it here, one of the big advantages, it will follow along with the color and the theme of whatever your school's homepage is. If you decide to do it yourself, then what you're going to have is you're going to have the school page, okay, looking like this, and then your library page looking like this. And that's 2 totally different things. So you're better off to have the person who did your page tell them, give me a button that says library page. When I click on it, I want 3 columns or 2 columns or 5 columns, and I will tell you the name of the buttons, and I will give you a URL for each button. And whoever did your library, your school page will love it, because there's consistency, there's uniformity, and you never ever have to go and update that search result, because it will always be current and always be relevant. And if you go down that path, what's going to happen for you is that you are not going to be paying for another subscription service like LibGuides. Number 1. Number 2, you're not going to fall into the Yahoo trap and become irrelevant because you put so much other bits and pieces on there. Now you can, with our homepage, you can put in a tab like that, you can put in a tab like that, you can put in a page and make it look like that. It's entirely up to you. You can do anything as long as you know how to run an HTML editor. And we can give you a button that goes, we can give you the URL that goes behind whatever button you choose to bring up results from your library collection. So I hope that's enlightened you. I hope it's also raised the issue of, do I really need to subscribe to a third party and pay more money for these resources like library guides? Or can I just get my local school IT department to give me a page and I'll just tell them the buttons and give them the URLs? Or I'm just going to invest in an online 2-day course on how to do HTML editing, create my own buttons and create my own links. I know I can create my own links no matter which way I go. I know for a fact that I can go in and I can do a search and I can go to the advanced search and I can do any kind of search validated based on any combination I want, and then I can create an external link for that resource so that whenever anyone clicks on it, it's always going to give me the most current resources at that instant in time. I hope that's been informative for you. And please be very, very aware that what happened to Yahoo as a search engine, they became irrelevant because they decided to give people what they thought people should have. When in fact, you had Google that came along and said, no, we're not going to tell you how to think. We know that you can think. So you just tell us what you want and we will give you the result based on what you tell us you want. And that's what's so good about SmartSuite. SmartSuite, when you go and do a search of cat, okay, as an example, it doesn't say, give me all the books with cat in it, which is what all our competitors do. What we do is we say, no, give me the books that have cat anywhere in the bibliography. Then give me the books out of those books, the books that have cat in the subject. And now I want to drill down. Now out of those books, I want all the books that have it in the series as well. And then I want to drill down from there. And those books, I want to find out how many of them have cat in the notes and have it most frequently. And then present me with that, then give me all the others. So it's a weighted search. And that's why people and students and teachers and parents love doing a search in Smart. It gives them a relevancy. But if I say, no, I just want a subject cat, you can drill down. I just want title cat. Or no, I want anything stored in a particular location. So they have the option to do all of that. We don't assume that they have to have individual buttons to go and do YouTube searches based on that, Yahoo searches based on those buttons. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present a way of building your own LibGuides that's more relevant for you and your individual school with dynamic links to your entire collection across whatever areas you want to create links for.